Hey guys, this episode's going to be a bit unusual. I want to talk about a game called SOMA. SOMA is a flat screen game that was released in 2015, but not only is there a workaround to be used in VR, this is more an argument as to why it should be rebuilt from the ground up and modded to function in VR. You can consider this to be a message direct to the creator, an argument as to why we need VR support, and why this game in particular is so deserving, and why the VR community is the most embracing, forward-looking, and profitable bet that they can make. All of that and more, you're watching Bringhurst VR. To begin, this is a VR channel. It's not typical of me to speak about a flat screen game like this, but it's deserving of your attention. The game was released in 2015 by Frictional Games, the director of which is Thomas Grip. Before I get much further into it, I want to give you a rundown of what the general plot is. In 2015, Simon Jarrett survives a car accident, but sustains severe brain damage and cranial bleeding. And due to his injuries, Simon agrees to undergo an experimental brain scan. During the scan, Simon appears to black out and then regains consciousness in 2104, aboard an underwater research facility known as Pathos 2. Why is he here? How did he get here? And where did the time go?
We can go on living. It really makes you think about what it means to be human.
I mean, if we are able to save even just a small piece of ourselves, why wouldn't we do that?
My name is Simon. Do you know anything about this place?
Oh, you knew. Look, I'm obviously hurt. Blacked out pretty bad. Can't remember how I got here.
What do you remember then?
I was in the pilot seat, dealing with some heat shields, and that's my last clear memory.
What the hell? How is this possible? Are you human?
Now with that out of the way, what makes this game so special? To begin, it's this emotional roller coaster. I've yet to play another game that had me as invested in the character as this one did.
Are you blind? It's me. Come.
I can't give away the ending of the game, because you'd never forgive me. But suffice to say, it's something that's simply unforgettable. And along the way, it's one of the scariest games I've ever played. Frictional Games is responsible for Amnesia, The Dark Descent. This isn't the first time they've made a horror game, and like their previous entries, this is more of a survival puzzle game. You have no weapons, and the monsters and creatures that you encounter know when you're looking at them. All you can do is run and hide. Solve the necessary puzzles, unlock the correct doors, find your way through this underwater labyrinth, where around every corner is a potential monster that knows when you're looking at it. I can't overstate how terrifying certain aspects of this game are. And this is partly where VR would come into play. Now this can be achieved by using an app right now called VORPX. And as I understand it, 90% of flat screen games are capable of working inside of this to where it can take that game and convert it to VR using your PC in this app. How this is achieved is a little bit unfamiliar to me. As I understand it, a lot of games, even though they're flat screen, they make use of 2 cameras for depth and data purposes. And although you only see this one camera view on a flat screen, the information is there. And so this app can, I imagine, take advantage of that. In some instances, I imagine this is achieved by cheating and essentially giving you full 6DoF control, but while bailing on the stereoscopic view. As I understand it, that is not the case regarding SOMA. The information's there, and using this VORPX app, it actually works. But how well it works in terms of opening doors and manipulating the environment is unclear to me. And how would the camera glitching as it happens when you're near an enemy in this game affect your experience in VR? I imagine right now, just bare bones, it would cause nausea. I haven't tried this app yet. I will once my Quest 3 arrives. But for now, we'll consider it as it is likely to be a hack that doesn't really get the whole job done. And so this video is an appeal to Thomas Grip and Frictional Games. When you're playing this game, you get the impression that it was always meant to be VR. You get the impression that flat screen was an afterthought. Now that wasn't the case, but because it feels so native to VR, all you can do is think, why isn't this VR? And the reason it's not VR is because it came out in 2015. And back then, we didn't have the Valve Index, we didn't have the Oculus Quest, we didn't even have the HTC Vive. All there was the Rift, and developers only saw it as being experimental. But now, new games have come out. The Index changed PC VR forever. Half-Life Alyx proved that VR games could be profitable, and it led to this discussion over at Frictional Games. This is from RelyOnHorror.com. It says, regarding VR support for SOMA, something that would propel the scares of the game to new heights, as well as fit in thematically due to the game's existential themes. Grip confessed that VR was something Frictional was looking into. He says, we have been looking into VR and we have some ideas. Problem is having enough time. We have to weigh it against other things we want to do and also see how the platform evolves, he told GamerRanks. It goes on to read, essentially, Frictional needs to determine whether implementing VR fully into SOMA would be worth the investment of time and development costs. The VR market is still fairly niche, and not necessarily everyone with a Vive or Oculus wants to play or even purchase SOMA, so spending resources on such support is risky. Frictional Games is doing pretty well scaring people to death without VR anyway. Now that was written 6 years ago. A lot has happened in 6 years. Millions of Quest headsets have been sold. Steam VR is more profitable than ever, and that right there feeds into the notion that these people are willing to consider the transition into VR, even going back to update games like SOMA to include VR support. All they need is to be told that we'll pay for it. And there are enough of us to make it worth their while. So why am I so focused on this game? A few reasons. A, because it is the scariest game I've played in the last 10 years. Because it's got so much emotional baggage to it, it leaves this unforgettable mark on you. You'll be thinking about this game for days after you finish it. I finished it 3 times now, and the last time I played it was 3 months ago. I'm still thinking about the ending. It's a beautiful game, and truthfully, the only game that matches it aesthetically and tonally is Half-Life Alyx. This is the game that can reignite VR. Granted, it doesn't necessarily need reigniting. The PSVR 2 is doing just fine, and with the Quest 3 coming out soon, sales are only going to continue. But you can't tell me that VR isn't in a stagnant place right now. Standalone headsets are doing fine, standalone games, but full-fledged immersive Steam VR, PC VR games are at a low right now. And updating this game, releasing it with VR, would be a kick in the butt that this industry needs. It's what die-hard VR enthusiasts really want. And after reading that article, we know now that they're open to it. That it's been on their minds, that 6-7 years ago, they were considering it, and how much has changed since then. Now I guarantee right now they're probably working on a VR game. I wouldn't put it past them. I bet next year or the year after we see something, we get some kind of a leak. I'm sure they're doing it. But I want SOMA. You want SOMA, you just didn't know it. And I think that we should reach out to Frictional Games and the director of SOMA, Thomas Grip, not in a hassling kind of way. We don't want to bother these people, but let them know that we want this game, we care about it, that we would support them, that we would spend the money, we would buy it, and that we appreciate all the work they've put into this so far. We haven't forgotten, we know it's a good game, and we appreciate them. I'll put a link to both their profiles on Twitter down in the comments. I would suggest that we reach out, explain how appreciative we are of the game, and and request, please, VR support. This game deserves it. Now, who of you have tried VORPX? Have you tried it with this game? Other games? How well does it work? What are the pros and cons? I'll be trying it as soon as my Quest 3 arrives, and I'm excited to see what you guys think. If Thomas Grip replies to this video, I'll make another video about it and explain to you what's happening, if he's interested, if he's not interested. I started this video this morning after having already reached out to Mr. Grip, and he replied to me on Twitter, so this is my update mid-video. He took the time to basically say it was a really cool notion, but that they weren't working on it at the moment. Which, like a middle school geek trying to interpret every benign comment and signature in my middle school yearbook, why does she write it this way? And maybe she's thinking about me. But no, he said at the moment. So I could read into that 100 different ways. The truth is, they're not working on it. But at the moment truly implies that at the moment, they might do something with it down the line. So I stand by this thing where we should reach out to them and express ourselves. Tell them, not that we deserve it, not that we demand it, but that we would pay for it, and we appreciate them. And that's about all I got. Thank you for being here. I mentioned last time I'm giving away a MetaQuest 3. Once I hit 2,000 subscribers, I'll create a video, and anyone who comments and says, I want this, will be entered to win. However, leading up to that point, you can start getting entries right now through Patreon. It's the only way up until I create that video. And if you can't afford it, that's perfectly fine. I completely understand. I'm curious what you guys would value through Patreon. What can I do? What can I provide that would be of benefit to you? Right now I'm offering exclusive entries into the winning of this MetaQuest 3 when I hit 2,000 subscribers. But on top of that, I'm also offering mentions at the end of my video, early access, and I'm about to launch a Saturday night movie screening where through Patreon we vote on what you want to watch and we hang out for a couple hours. I want to build this thing around you. I want to provide you something that's helpful and of value. So please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe, hit that bell icon, like this video. You'll find me on Discord as soon as this video finishes. Link is in the description. You're all awesome. Thank you for being here, and you've been watching Bringhurst VR.